So this morning, President Vladimir Putin announced the mobilization of 300,000 troops from the reserve forces in Russia. This is going to more than double the amount of Russian and Russian allied forces that are fighting currently in Ukraine.
Поддержать предложение Министерства обороны и Генерального штаба о проведении в Российской Федерации частичной мобилизации.
And we've gotten to this point where mobilization is necessary for Russia to do because the Russians, up till this point, have failed to achieve the set out goals of their special military operation. It's become clear that it's necessary for the Russians to replenish their losses in the front line that they currently hold, which, as Putin said in his statement, is over 1,000 kilometers long. It's a long front line. They need a lot of bodies to hold that line.
И прежде всего те, кто проходил службу в рядах вооруженных сил, имеет определенные военно-учетные специальности и соответствующий опыт.
Now, at this point, it's a little unclear where these reserve troops will be deployed. It's not clear if they will be deployed in Ukraine as either frontline soldiers or as supporting roles, logistics, driving trucks, or if they'll even be deployed in Ukraine at all. But what is clear is in the next few weeks or months, we're going to see thousands, 300,000 more Russian troops fighting in Ukraine. And this also ties into the need for an excuse for the Russians to escalate it to this point of undertaking this mobilization. And that excuse presented itself in the form of the breakaway regions of Ukraine, the occupied territories of Zaporozhye, Kherson, Donetsk, Luhansk, announcing referendums to officially join the Russian Federation. And after these referendums take place, and they inevitably say yes, it would be stupid to have a referendum just for them to say no, so of course they're going to say yes, we'll join the Russian Federation. After that takes place, any attack by the Ukrainians on these territories, and for context, the Ukrainians are currently launching artillery strikes and offensives in these regions, and that's of course going to continue. So going forward, these offensives, these artillery strikes, the deaths caused by them, whether military or civilian, will be seen as an attack on the Russian state and the Russian people. And that's going to open up a large amount of options that the Russians can choose from, including further mobilization, perhaps general mobilization, or even the use of tactical nuclear weapons. Now, I personally don't view general mobilization or the use of tactical nuclear weapons as being a realistic thing for Russia to do. I don't think they will do that, but we have to understand that it will be an option for them to do, and we have to keep that in the back of our minds going forward. Now, these referendums are going to be held a couple days from now, the 23rd of September to the 27th of September, and this gives Ukraine a very, very short window of being able to keep their offensive initiative, because as you know, the Ukrainians were able to take back most of the Kharkiv region in Ukraine, and if they want to keep up this strategic initiative, they could launch limited offensives into these areas to try to further isolate Crimea. They could strike south into Zaporozhye, Mariupol, or they could continue to do what they have been doing, which is trying to break through Kherson and isolate the Russian troops that are in that area. But if Ukraine fails to keep this offensive initiative, which I believe they will fail to do so, I don't see any realistic prospect of the Ukrainians making any breakthroughs anytime soon. It seems as though the war might turn back in the favor of the Russians come early 2023 and come when these troops have arrived to the front lines. And of course, with this, the Russians are reverting back to their old tactics of using overwhelming numbers, overwhelming firepower to get the job done, to bring this conflict to a close, which of course is very bad news for Ukraine, because while throwing numbers at a problem is sloppy and it'll cause a large amount of casualties, it gets the job done. So there is a legitimate reason to be concerned for the future of Ukraine. So there's all the breaking news and the events happening and a little bit of my analysis. I would love to dive deeper into this topic in the future, but I wanted to get this video out to cover the recent developments and all the breaking news and events happening on the ground. So thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.